I'm Melody Rackley. I'm a realtor in San Antonio and the surrounding areas, and I want to talk to you about home values and how to determine a price to sell your home for. And so first, let's talk about some resources that are not very accurate. One is going to be the county tax roll. They assess value for the purpose of assessing taxes, but it's not accurate. And the reason is that Texas is a non-disclosure state, meaning the seller and the buyer, neither one have to disclose the price that the home is bought or sold for. So the county has to use whatever avenue they can to try to determine what those values are by watching the market and seeing if prices are rising and houses are selling quicker, stuff like that. But it's just not an accurate, true picture of what the values are. Another avenue that some people look at for a resource is Zillow. Zillow has estimates, right? They tell you what your home is worth, Zillow's estimate. But unfortunately, for the same reason, they're not able to get their hands on true values and sold prices, so it's not accurate. In fact, Zillow has a page that says how accurate is my estimate, and they rank different cities, of the accuracy. Well, San Antonio is a 1 out of 5 stars, so they're disclosing that they're not accurate with San Antonio or really any area of Texas for that reason. So that's good information to share with you, especially if you're moving from somewhere else outside of Texas, because some states have different laws on disclosure, and Zillow is pretty accurate in those areas. But, if you're used to relying on that and you're moving to Texas, it's not a good resource for you from that end. So let's talk about how we determine value then. Value is determined by what someone is willing to pay for a house, right? So, the higher you price a house, the less buyers you're going to have because, you're not giving the house away. Not everyone wants it. So I'm going to use this resource. It's a little chart. This is from the National Association of Realtors. So over here is the price, and as you go up in price, this triangle shows how many buyers you have at that price. Up here, look, it's pretty small. You only have a few buyers that are interested in your home. You keep moving up in price even further and you got like one buyer. You may have only a unicorn to buy your house because there may not be a buyer out there truly. But, let's look going down. You lower your price and you've got more buyers. That triangle of buyers is getting bigger and bigger. Well, so this is where they place market value. Market value, you've got a great source of buyers to pull from because statistically, the more buyers that are interested in your home, the more likely you are to get an offer, right? So you've got a good amount of buyers and you're trying to sell it at a highest price you can. You move lower price and you've got all kinds of buyers. They're coming out of the woodwork because this is a bargain and they all want it. They see the value in buying your house for a lower price point. So hopefully this kind of shows, why it's not a great idea to price high because your house is going to stay on the market longer and it's going to be a more strenuous process to do it that way. So let's talk about then the other factor that affects values is whenever someone gets a loan on a house, that home is going to be appraised. The bank is not going to just give you a gazillion dollars to buy a house and be okay with you buying a cardboard box as a house for a gazillion dollars. It doesn't make sense to them because if you foreclose on your cardboard box, then they're stuck with it and they paid a gazillion dollars for it, so they're upside down. So they want to determine before they loan you the money, once you pick your house, you're under contract, they send an appraiser out to evaluate the value of the home through a complex process and go back, report to the bank and say, yeah, it's worth the amount that you were wanting a loan and what they're willing to pay, what they've agreed to pay. Or no, it's like worth $50,000 less than what they've contracted to sell and buy for. So then that's a huge red flag to the bank. Like, okay, there's a problem. They're overpaying for this house and this is a bad deal for us. We don't want it. We don't want to do this deal. And so in that situation, the appraiser comes in and the house does not appraise for the sales price. They tell the buyer comes to the seller and says, hey, so do you want to lower your price to that amount? Well, the seller has the option of either lowering that price for, let's say, the $50,000 Or maybe they're going to lower $25,000 and the buyer is going to bring an extra $25,000 in cash if the lender will allow that. And sometimes they will, because, that's not on them. You're bringing the cash. And to kind of balance that out. Or maybe the buyer's like, I love the house. I don't care. I'll pay out of my own pocket the extra money to make that happen. And so sometimes that happens as well. Or the buyer, if they can't come to an agreement and the buyer can say, bye, no bueno, I'm not doing this. And they can terminate the contract and get their earnest money back. And then the seller is stuck. So, if I've agreed that I'm going to list your price way up here and I found the unicorn and I'm going to work darn hard to sell your house, so I may find the unicorn to buy your house, but you're going to not be happy with me whenever the value is actually lower. And then you're forced to make a decision, usually in the third week of the contract. So you're maybe a week, maybe a few days out from closing, and you learn this information that you're stuck with deciding you're going to lower your price of $50,000, let's say, or you may not be selling it at all if the buyer decides to terminate and y'all don't come in an agreement. You're not happy with me. I misled you. I did not explain how the process works. I threw you some numbers. I said that I would sell it for $1 gazillion because that's what you wanted to sell it for. And I made that happen, but I didn't really make it happen if I didn't get you to the closing table and really deliver that money to you of your net. I don't want to back you into a corner. So the way I work is I'm going to be honest up front. I'm going to present values. I'm going to explain where I think an appraiser is going to be at, which is what I can justify in a deal. It's got to match with what the appraiser is seeing of what a value is. And, I'm going to be honest with you at that point and not mislead you in trying to list your house for a higher price just so that I can secure the listing, just to have you mad at me later or the whole deal fall apart later on. It's just a better way of doing business for me. And, hopefully you appreciate that as well. So let's say the price is not matching up. We meet, I show you what the values are. I tell you this is where I think we can list your house at. And you're like, oh my gosh, I really thought I was going to get $200,000 more for this house. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not willing to list it at this because you're not going to be happy with me later if someone has a loan on the house and has to have an appraisal, because I can't justify how they could even come up with a value even near that. So in that situation, then I'm going to offer instead, why don't I run comps for you every month? Let's see what the market's doing. Let me educate you, keep you in the loop, and let you see what these houses are selling for, how quick they're selling. And then you can see as time goes on, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, however long, you can kind of see, oh my gosh, this is becoming a great market for me. It's a great time for me to sell. Now I can make my $200,000 higher feasibly based on the comps. And so let's go ahead and list a home now. The reason the whole timeline thing is important is because houses truly do change value. And so, the market is always changing, which is why it's important to work with a full-time realtor who is aware of these changes and can give you some insight even before you having to see it for yourself, of them knowing kind of what the market's doing and where things are going and where things have been. But also, an appraiser is only going to look at the past 6 months of sales. So the sold prices for the last 6 months. So, a couple of months down the line from that beginning 6-month marker when we originally met and determined we can't sell your house for what you need to sell it for, 3 months later, all the really low comps may have fallen off and some higher comps may come on. I mean, it could also work the other way. Your best, highest price comps have fallen off and now some houses have sold for a lower price point. And so it's a declining market and maybe not a best option for you. But knowing that, having the information helps you make an educated decision for what you want to do, when you want to sell. Selling a house is too big of a decision for me to just on a whim say, I'll sell it for $1 gazillion. I don't want to mislead you. I want you to make wise decisions. I want to be a resource and help you in that and do my job the best I can to be an advocate for you, to represent you well, and to educate you on all of these things. So if you have questions, if you want more information, please reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and see where we're at. See if it's a good time for you. See if, we can sell where you're thinking, or just out of curiosity to see where's my house at? What's my current value? So reach out, let me know, let me help you however I can. Check out my resource library for other information on buying and selling and all things real estate. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.